Hey everybody, and welcome to another joint venture with Breaking Spectre Productions and Kitchen Table Media. This is Red from KTM. Say hello, Spectre.
Greetings, folks.
The title of this video is So You Wanted a Q Proof. There's a 0 Delta request fulfilled, and the major players are Donald J. Trump and QAnon. And Spec, you said you had some things you wanted to share with the viewers today?
Yeah, I figured for those that are new to Q and those that may be just joining us after jumping off the Mockingbird media, give you a brief description of what a proof is and why they're necessary. Since the inception of Q back in October, November last year, it's always been an ongoing thing to try and prove or disprove Q. And Q has given us ample opportunities to do that through graphics and various pictures net taken, as well as things that have transpired between the drops on the Q board, as well as trying to tie those into Donald J. Trump tweets. And we've seen that clear back on post 25, 122, 316, all the way through, and we've had a number of graphics in that as well. So this is just yet another case to prove that Q is indeed real, and certainly ties in very well with Donald J. Trump.
That certainly does have a tie-in, and today we're going to start with the facts. Yesterday, Monday, September 10th, 2018, an Anon made a request of the Q team and the president. Let's take a look at that. It came through and says, no POTUS tweets today yet. Q, how about a 0 Delta to encourage the Anons? And then Q came back a little bit later and gives us this link, which is a Twitter link, and signs off Q. Well, let's take a quick look at this Twitter link real quick. Spec, why don't you tell us a little bit about this one?
Right, so this is the Bill Mitchell Twitter, and indicating that tonight on Your Voice, Steel Truth, Ann Vandersteel continues to expose a deep state with an exclusive interview with Mr. Bill Binney, former technical director at NSA. And I think you've got a clip lined up for this one, right?
Of course I do. If it wants to play.
So is there other information that you're aware of that is coming out now that you can now maybe share with the audience that has been used by the previous administration to create this delusion of the Russian collusion story? Is there something that we're not aware of? Because there's so many actors in this, but it's always the same. It's always the same cast of characters. It starts with John Brennan. It goes to Hillary Clinton, to James Clapper, to Sally Yates, to Susan Rice, etc. James Comey, Robert Mueller, on and on and on. Is there anybody else that you think that we haven't heard about that's really sort of the linchpin that's central to all of this that's been going on, using this technology against its own citizenry?
Sure, Rosenstein. I mean, the indictment that Rosenstein put out was a fabrication based on a fabrication, another fabrication on top of it. I mean, we clearly could show from the forensics of the data from Lucifer 2 that in fact was a contrived set of data that was manufactured and manipulated. And we can also show that it could be hacked because it was downloaded too fast to go across the Atlantic on the fiber optic lines for the worldwide network. It just didn't work. And we showed that, and also demonstrated that it was tampered with in terms of breaking it into 2 files when in fact it was 1. We could show that, and show that therefore Lucifer 2.
And that's the end of the video here, but there's plenty more if you click the link through the tweet that Q highlighted.
Very interesting that he highlights, or she highlights rather, all the cast of characters in that. And if you're paying attention to Q, obviously the many references to you're watching a movie and grab the popcorn and enjoy the show. Staying in tune with that.
It is definitely interesting, and I do have a lot of popcorn stockpiled. Q told me, so I got ready. So a little bit later on, we got a tweet from Donald Trump. And let's take a quick look at that. Spec, you want to read this one?
So Trump came through at 12:35 on the 10th of September, says the storms in the Atlantic are very dangerous. We encourage anyone in the path of these storms to prepare themselves and to heed the warnings of state and local officials. The federal government is closely monitoring and ready to assist. We are with you. Now, if you're paying attention to Q, or maybe you haven't, we are with you is certainly a tie back to Q. So that's kind of a signal number one that we'll see here.
And let's move forward. Okay, so now we'll just take a quickie look at the analysis and try to figure this out. We'll start with Q post 2130, which came through, and it basically shows us his previous post as well as POTUS's tweet. And then we'll jump over to 2132, where he highlights an Anon's graphic. Here we go. And it basically puts everything together. It has the anonymous requests, the post that Q made, as well as Trump's status on Twitter. Why don't you take this next one, Spec?
Okay, so 2138 came through at 16:46:53 Eastern Standard Time, and he's referencing back to a previous posting and says graphics show 2 killbox time zones. Update requested, 0 killbox Q. So what he is highlighting here is that there was a delta in the time zones on the previous graphic that the Anon highlighted. And just for clarification's sake and trying to shore this up for potential newbies coming to the board, he's requested that they be reconciled.
Okay, let's head over to the next one, which here we see an Anon quickly coming back with a new image, which features the post from 2139 and changes things up, and Q notes the minor changes in times and explains what happens. Let's take a deeper look in. So here's the new image, and it aligns everything to give us an exact timing and proves that everything's within, what, 10 milliseconds here? So basically a zero change or zero delta on there. And Q comes back and says 2 devices used, 1 carrier, pushed exactly the same time, 10 millisecond variance, and that's all in a kill box. And he says device lag or feeder site delay, request fulfilled, Q. You want to explain this a little bit to us, Spec?
I think you pretty well got it there. I think the time delta, the 10 milliseconds, is negligible in terms of the 0 delta, so it's precisely at the same time as Q has stated.
And then we'll head over to post 2140. And why don't you take this one, Spec?
All right, so the Anon came through at 16:55:38 and says the link posted must be added to the graphic. Request fulfilled, Q. And Q just came back and says make it and they will crumb. So Q is feeling a little bit quippy yesterday afternoon as we were going through this exercise.
When is Q not quippy?
Pretty rare.
They definitely have a sense of humor over on the Q team.
Humor?
Sure, why not? So let's head over to post 2141, which highlights 2 Anons. The first one thanking Q for the effort with that lovely God wins meme. And another one notes that there are some that are disparaging the attempt for that 10 millisecond difference. And Q comes back and thanks the efforts for all the Anons for making sure that we can put these proofs together, and then basically calls out the shills. Anything you want to say here, Spec?
Yeah, I think it's worthy of noting that Q is calling out the shills, and what people have to understand, especially if you're a newbie coming to this for the first time, is that the boards have been under attack since day one. What people have to also understand is that Q, as he posts on 4chan, 8chan, you know, at the end of the day, the folks that are watching this are not only the Anons who are well versed on handling the board, certainly, but the shills and spooks and everybody else are also watching this. So we're ever mindful of that. They wanted to derail, dissuade, whatever it is to get you off course. And that's what he's highlighting here.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people out there trying to do the same thing. Okay, let's head over to post 2142, which features the Anon's update to the images, reconciling where necessary, and showing the full proof. And it's basically the same image with just a few minor updates, including that request fulfilled, the 0 delta, and the explanations. And Q simply highlights this. It's pretty self-explanatory, but is there anything else here you want to say, Spec?
Well, I'd say at the end of the day, this is probably going to be added to the Q-Proofs websites and that warehouse a lot of these proofs and that we've captured along the way. 2,140 posts in, we've got several of them, and there are several sites out there that capture these to show the evidence.
And that is definitely one of the reasons why we're making this video, is to actually encapsulate this and have an easily recognized way to prove it, right?
Absolutely.
It's nice to have goals in life, isn't it? So for those Q screenshots that you saw, they all came from qntmpkts.keybase.pub. The ones where the Keybase site did not have the image itself, we went straight to the chans and grabbed those. But for people who aren't necessarily comfortable over there, we typically tend to tell people don't head in if you don't know what you're getting into. And why don't you tell the people where to find us, Spec?
So a couple spots here. We've got the link shorteners here for Kitchen Table Media on YouTube. You can find Breaking Spectre also on YouTube, but my main platform is going to be Breaking Spectre Productions over on the new platform called Real.video, and you can find us there.
And as we close up, I just want to say thanks to the viewers. Thank you to Breaking Spectre who helped me put all this together. Hopefully you guys can find some of the fun things that Red hid in these images as you watch and go through. And is there anything else you'd like to say before we close out here, Spec?
Well, stay tuned for the next one. One thing to watch out for here is we're going to be going back to the beginning very soon here and starting over from post number 1. So stay tuned on that.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great one.